Chelsea are genuinely frightening again. Not in the old, oil-rich, buy the league twice before Christmas way, but in a new, chaotic, almost reckless way that makes opponents sweat before they even step onto the pitch at Stamford Bridge. And the single biggest reason for that is a quiet, bald Italian who looks more like a philosophy professor than a football manager, Enzo Maresca. This is a team whose starting 11 sometimes has an average age of 23.5, 23 and a half.
At Stamford Bridge, Chelsea didn't just beat Barcelona. They delivered a thunderous reminder to the whole of Europe that the sleeping giant has well and truly woken up. A commanding 3-0 triumph under the Champions League floodlights against one of the continent's most decorated sides felt less like a quarter-final contest and more like a public coronation. Enzo Maresca's fearless, youthful brigade toyed with the Catalan giants in a way that left jaws on the floor across the footballing world. The message was crystal clear. Chelsea have arrived, and they're here to stay.
And yet, if you told any Chelsea fan in the spring of 2023 that this is where we'd be 2.5 years later, they would have laughed, cried, or both. May 2022. Roman Abramovich is gone, forced out by sanctions. Todd Boehly and Clear Lake Capital ride into town with MLB money and the confidence of people who once read half a Wikipedia page about soccer. He then proceeds to spend more than £1 billion in 3 transfer windows, like he's trying to win the January window trophy that doesn't exist. Tuchel was sacked after a run of disappointing results, Potter humiliated after 31 games, caretaker Lampard oversaw disaster, and the £1 billion squad limped to 12th with 44 points and no Europe. Pochettino arrived the next summer, cleared the deadwood, rebuilt with kids, fought through injuries and inconsistency, and dragged them to 6th with real progress, only to be shown the door 5 days after the season ended. Everyone braced for another meltdown, and everyone was wrong.
June 2024. Chelsea go off script and appoint Enzo Maresca, Pep's former assistant, the guy who just got Leicester promoted playing beautiful possession football. He's 44, calm as a lake, and walks into a dressing room full of 20-year-olds carrying the weight of £1 billion in transfer fees. Most pundits call it a gamble. Some call it madness. He installs a ferocious, high-line, possession-heavy system with inverted fullbacks, man-to-man pressing across the pitch, and total freedom for the attacking players to express themselves. Training sessions are intense, non-stop, almost militaristic. He tells the squad that youth isn't a weakness, it's a weapon. They can outrun, outpress, and outlast anyone because they don't know they're supposed to be tired.
No one could have scripted the chaos that marked Chelsea's opening chapter. A flat draw with Crystal Palace set the tone, and before the dust settled, the heart of the team, Cole Palmer, collapsed with injury. The shock barely faded when Manchester United handed them a brutal defeat. Frustration boiled over, cards flew, tempers erupted, and the breaking point? A painful 3-1 loss at home to Brighton.
But seasons don't crumble only in the moments of failure. Sometimes they're reborn there, especially when a coach like Enzo Maresca is pulling the strings. Under his command, Chelsea slowly reshaped themselves into a cohesive, disciplined, single-minded unit. New signings fortified the squad, the style sharpened, and piece by piece, the club began climbing out of the wreckage. The real turning point came in a stunning 5-1 demolition of West Ham, a performance that announced loudly that Chelsea had woken up. João Pedro wasted no time, scoring on his debut and setting the rhythm for the night. Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez followed, each striking with authority from midfield. Even Trevoh Chalobah found the net, proving that Chelsea were no longer relying on individuals. They were attacking from everywhere. Every player could create, threaten, and influence the game. It wasn't just a big win, it was a declaration that Maresca had built a balanced, dangerous, fully wired machine.
The momentum carried into a disciplined victory over Fulham. But consistency is never linear. A 2-2 draw with Brentford halted the run, just as Chelsea finally returned to the Champions League. 2 years removed, yet carrying the badge of Club World Cup champions. Their first major test came against Bayern Munich, a matchup designed to expose exactly how far Maresca's philosophy had progressed. Bayern, under Company, lined up in a 4-2-3-1. Maresca matched them shape for shape. For the first 20 minutes, Chelsea held their own until a ruthless Bayern press smothered Chalobah, forcing him into a panicked touch that ended up in his own net. Minutes later, an overload on the left forced Caicedo into a reckless lunge, handing Harry Kane a penalty he converted with cold inevitability.
Yet Bayern's experience spoke louder. Kane buried another in the second half, sealing a 3-1 defeat that underlined a painful truth. Talent wasn't enough at this level. Chelsea had quality: Palmer, João Pedro, Esteban, Pedro Neto, Caicedo, Enzo, Captain Reece James. But Bayern had composure, maturity, and the cold discipline of a seasoned giant. Maresca walked away knowing what needed fixing.
Back in the Premier League, Chelsea met a fragile but desperate Manchester United. What unfolded revealed Chelsea's biggest tactical vulnerability. When goalkeeper Robert Sanchez was sent off for an avoidable red card, Maresca had no choice but to sacrifice his two most dangerous wingers, Esteban and Pedro Neto, and morph into a back five. The team's attacking spine was gone. United punished them with a second goal, and although Chalobah clawed one back, the damage was irreversible. If Bayern had taught Chelsea about experience, United exposed their discipline.
Their next league match against Brighton seemed like the moment to reclaim control. Enzo Fernandez put them ahead early, and for a while, everything looked back on track. Then 8 minutes after halftime, the Ghosts returned. A rash challenge from Chalobah, a red card. Brighton's goals came like hammer strikes. 2 from Welbeck, wrapped around a late finish from Maxime de Cuyper, ending in a bruising 3-1 defeat. And by this point, the pattern wasn't just noticeable, it was undeniable. Chelsea weren't being beaten by superior teams, they were sabotaging themselves.
Robert Sanchez's reckless dismissal against United shattered their shape. Then Chalobah's red card versus Brighton invited disaster all over again. Maresca had a simple revelation. The enemy wasn't the opposition, it was indiscipline. And until that was fixed, no tactical brilliance or signing spree would save them. Days later, Benfica arrived for a Champions League night. And unbelievably, another red card, another self-inflicted wound, another lesson unlearned.
Then came the real examination. Stamford Bridge. Liverpool, reigning champions. A wounded predator desperate for points. And this time, finally, Chelsea showed how far Maresca's system had evolved. From their 4-2-3-1 base, Malo Gusto pushed forward and tucked in beside Enzo as a second roaming number 8. The movement pulled Liverpool's markers out of their zones, prying open corridors of attack. Reece James inverted inside on the right, freeing Gusto to tear down the flank, while Marc Cucurella bombed forward on the opposite side, especially when Fernandez surged higher to cover gaps left by Garnacho.
Nothing happened by chance. Every rotation, every overload, every triggering run, it was all choreographed. Chelsea weren't reacting to Liverpool, they were dictating the terms, and the crowd felt it. This was Chelsea playing with authority. Sharp, fearless, creative. Moises Caicedo steered the midfield with the calm precision of a surgeon. Then he capped it with a thunderous long-range strike that rippled through Stamford Bridge like electricity. Chelsea weren't just competing, they were announcing themselves.
And when Liverpool equalized after an injury forced Benoit Badiashile off, disrupting the back line, Chelsea could have collapsed. But instead, they surged again. Fernandez rattled the post, Esteban and Jamie Bino Gittins forced a string of heroic saves from Mamardashvili, and just when the match seemed destined for a draw, Esteban smashed in a winner that detonated like an explosion of blue energy across the stadium. No neutral watching that match could deny it. Chelsea were the superior side.
Still, the Liverpool win was the accelerator they needed. Confidence surged. They carried it into a clean 3-0 victory against Nottingham Forest, bagging all 3 goals in the second half. Only spoiled by another red card, this time from Malo Gusto. Then came Europe. A stunning 5-1 dismantling of Ajax in the Champions League, the 3rd straight win since toppling Liverpool. Momentum was building.
And then came Sunderland. At home, Garnacho netted early, and everyone assumed it was routine business. But the familiar ghost returned. They couldn't kill the game. Wilson Isidore equalized. And despite Chelsea piling up chances, time slipped away.
And then, in stoppage time, Sunderland struck and stole the win. A gut punch.
What Chelsea desperately needed was stability. The danger was obvious. They were at risk of becoming a momentum and crash side, soaring one week, stumbling the next. So when bottom-of-the-table Wolves came along, there could be no stumbles, no misfires, no second chances. And Chelsea delivered exactly what was required. 3 goals in the second half put the match to bed. A performance as clinical as it was expected.
And then came Burnley, and this time Chelsea didn't blink. They walked into Turf Moor with conviction and walked out with a 2-0 victory, courtesy of Pedro Neto's composed first-half strike and Enzo Fernandez's late dagger. It was a mature, business-like performance. Not flashy, but decisive. The kind of win title contenders grind out. And with that result, Chelsea now sit on 23 points in second place, perfectly poised in the chase. Next week, all eyes turn to a heavyweight clash with Arsenal, a true test of whether this young blue machine is ready to punch at the very top.
And here's the remarkable part. This Chelsea isn't even fully loaded. Cole Palmer, arguably their most decisive attacking brain, had barely played 2 league matches before injury. Levi Colwell's ACL setback potentially ruled him out for the campaign. And still, Chelsea stayed competitive. Maresca's vision is taking form. The movements are becoming instinct. The shape is becoming fluid. The squad is becoming unpredictable in all the right ways.
The message is unmistakable. This is a Chelsea still under construction, but one that can already stand toe-to-toe with anybody in the league. They've proven resilience, they've shown adaptability, and they've tasted adversity without folding. The season remains long, and the final chapter's unwritten. But if this young group keeps growing, keeps hardening, keeps learning, their ceiling isn't just high, it might be sky-breaking.